We're going to move into personal yoga practice planning now, applying the principles of a well-structured practice, applying the signature poses of the last season and the one to come that we're going to blend into a transitional practice for the next couple of weeks. What we want to begin with, though, is your needs, if this is your practice. Whenever you practice with a teacher, you're doing their practice, my practice, our practice. And that's great. Hopefully your teachers practice enough that their practice has a more universal application. And if they resonate with you, then it resonates with you. When you bring your practice home to your own mat in your own time, a certain alchemy occurs. It won't feel the same. It's not supposed to. It will be yours. You will come to own these techniques in a way that you don't when you simply go to classes. Now, if you want to simply go to classes, particularly if you're early in your practice, that's totally okay. If you would like to have a personal yoga practice, get 2 pieces of paper, please. If you would like the graphics that I created, drop a comment below after this point, and I will look you up and get them to you. You can also email hello@badlandsyoga.com. That's B as in boy, A, D as in dog, LAN, D as in dog, S, yoga.com. Anytime, and I will be happy to send these to you. Thank you. We're going to start with your needs. I'm going to ask you to first start to list what you want out of your yoga practice. It can just be words. It can be qualities you're looking for: strength, balance, openness, peace. There are a million trillion things. It might be healing. It might be a paragraph. Write down what's bringing you to the mat right now in your life for the last 4 weeks. I'm going to ask you to go back to each one of those and ask yourself, why do I want that? Write it next to or below each of the things that you've stated you practice for. Go with your gut shot. Don't overcomplicate it. Second level, and why do you want that? Be the 2-year-old. Why do you want that other thing that you wanted the first thing for? We're going to move through this rapidly. Feel free to come back to this video anytime, press pause, and take longer. One more time, why do you want that? Whatever your second level was, why do you want that? What does it answer? What does it connect you to? Now, are any of these conditioned or socialized desires? Are they conditioned or socialized goals? Things that you want because it's something outside of yourself. If there's not a deeper why for that thing outside yourself, consider letting those go. Part of what yoga does is it removes the obstacles to our healing. And in this process, not in all of life, but in this process, the things that you were seeking for things outside ourselves, asterisk, things like family are probably part of who you are. But things that we're seeking for outside ourselves can be allowed to fall away. The other ones are authentic desires. Your motivation is your deepest driving desire. The Upanishads have a beautiful quote that goes something like, as your desire goes, so will go your action, as your action, your deeds, and as your deeds, your destiny. Your deepest driving desires create who you are. And we want to get down to what are your most authentic desires for your yoga practice right now. It's not one size fits all. This is your size fits you. Is there any theme that goes through the authentic desires that are left? Feel free to journal on that. Finally, for this section, is there anything else that you haven't recorded yet that bubbles up for you right now? Something for your yoga practice that you want? I've been dying to learn chants. I'm really drawn to certain breathing practices, whatever it is. What bubbles up for you right now? Next, list anything that you currently are doing that nourishes, sustains, or enlivens you. Are these things that you want to include as part of your daily asana, breath, or attention practice? Next level. If you were convinced that there was nothing about you that was broken, that you are completely whole and lacking nothing intrinsically, we all may be lacking a bank account or a thing, but lacking nothing intrinsically as part of yourself. How does that feel to you? What would that feel like if it's only an imagination right now? In the last 4 to 6 weeks, is there a way that you have felt different than what you just described? Are there significant periods of time or ways in which you have felt different than what you just described? List these needs. for each of those needs, list something, a time, a feeling, an activity, a word that would meet that need. Next, getting closer to the selection of practices. What practices from our practice together today spoke to you? What felt good? What piqued your curiosity? What would you like to do again, particularly over the next 2 weeks? What felt good? What felt perhaps uncomfortable, but felt like it was answering a need, a desire, a want? What are you curious about? What practices that you've done recently in any class, in any lead practice you've been to, with me, with another teacher, anything? Which of those practices may be different from what we did today? Which of those call to you? Which feel good? Pique your curiosity. Now this part starts to get interesting if you don't know all the names, right? Try drawing a stick figure or coming up with a name. So for instance, eagle arms looks like this. Maybe you remember doing that in a practice and you love it, but you don't remember that it's called eagle arms. Well, when you do it, what does it feel like? Can you name it by its feeling? Is it twist tie arms? Is it hug opposite shoulders? You don't have to know the name in order to represent it for yourself in your personal practice. You can draw little stick figures. You can say that breath that has an active exhale and a passive inhale. You can say that breath where we suck through the teeth. You can say left nostril breathing. Maybe gazing, meditation, tritaka. Now that you've gotten all of those out, take your time, you can press pause on this video later, you can come back to it. You have a set of words, desires, practices that call to you, and you've already started to sort through them by what feels authentic. The way you create, the way I plan a yoga class, any teacher plans a yoga class, is there's an arc, and it's just like a story arc, right? There's an introduction, it builds, you introduce characters, there is a pinnacle of sorts where things sort of come together or fall apart. Sometimes in a story it'll be a crisis point. And then there's a resolution. And then there's a conclusion. Pick one of the techniques that you just listed that you would like to explore, that becomes your pinnacle for the practice that you're going to sketch out right now. Now, if it's a meditation, what you're going to do is use an asana or a pranayama breath practice. So posture and or breath practice to warm up and then work up to your meditation. And then your sitting in normal consciousness will be your resolution. If what you've chosen is a breath practice as your pinnacle, you're going to use asana to lead up to it. You're going to use meditation to resolve it. And then a few breaths in a seated normal consciousness as your conclusion. If you're using all asana, all body postures, you're going to take the one you want to work on and put it at the pinnacle. The next concept here comes in. There's the arc, there's counterpose. So an example of counterpose is that every back bend is followed by a forward fold. A back bend can also be countered by a twist. A forward fold can be countered by a back bend. Twists, as long as you do both sides, are their own counterposes. Standing poses like warrior 1 and 2, when you do from side to side, are their own counterposes. Counterpose is how a practice proceeds. It's part of the magic of how yoga works. You have hopefully never been to a yoga class that is just back bend after back bend after back bend after back bend with nary a child's pose, down dog, or even a tabletop in sight. Yoga proceeds through creating conditions, resolving them, creating them, resolving them, creating them, resolving them, in this arc that leads to a conclusion. How are you going to populate the arc aside from your pinnacle? The introduction can be fairly standard. I have fairly standard cat-dog introductions, seated twist introductions, inhaling the hands up and exhaling down is an introduction. A mini salutation can be an introduction. Choose any of those that call to you. The conclusion is pretty much always the same. It's a twist and a final resting pose. This is of a pure asana practice. So this may be your build up to pranayama. This may be the beginning of your build up to pranayama, then meditation. But the end, the conclusion of a pure asana practice is a twist and a final resting pose. Traditionally, and as described in the 8 limbs of yoga, asana leads to pranayama, leads to meditation. Now, this isn't rigid. The fact is that the practice of asana will affect your breath, and it will eventually induce a meditative state. But if you are including pure practices of asana a dedicated alone practice of pranayama or a dedicated alone practice of silent seated meditation, the traditional order for those is asana pranayama meditation. Now, as far as the asana go, you're going to populate this back and forth with the techniques that you wrote down that call to you, plus things that occur to you. So let's say we're planning a pure asana practice. Our pinnacle pose is, say, that peacock pose, the beginner's peacock pose. I'm going to choose a warm-up. Could be sun salutations or mini salutations, but ideally for a 15-minute morning practice, I would start with tabletop cat dogs. You're already in the position, you're articulating the spine, you're coordinating movement with breath. I would take that maybe, and these are just suggestions, into sacral pumps. Inhale, dog tilt, hips back. Exhale, cat back, wave forward. I might then take that into some seated or standing postures where I experiment with external rotation in the upper arm bones, which is what's required for peacock pose. That could be upward facing hands in warrior pose, in star pose. I'm also going to do things that invoke my core. That might be a pendant pose, lolasana, the one where we push down on 2 blocks and lifted the pelvis. Or it could simply be a sun salutation. I'm going to start to arrange these in the way that back bends are followed by forward folds. That's already true in cat dog and a sacral pump. It's already included in a sun salutation. A sun salutation is literally back bend, forward fold, back bend, lower down, back bend, forward fold, step forward, forward fold. Inhale up to a back bend and back to neutral. So these are all practices that contain their own counterposes and can prepare us for the chosen pinnacle pose of beginner peacock. After that, I'm going to want to rest my arms, to stretch across the front of the chest, and to stretch across the front of the belly. What does that sound like to you? It could be laying back over a bolster. Queen pose. Could be upward facing dog. So it could be a yin pose, a restorative pose, or an energetic pose. You can use these same basic principles to plan an energetic practice, a yin practice, a restorative practice, or one that blends all three. These are very general principles that apply to every technique that you can include in a yoga practice. We're going to resolve those forces. If I use upward facing dog to stretch out here, I'm going to follow that with a forward fold. It could be a seated forward fold. It could be a down dog after an up dog, child's pose. At this point, when we're resolving forces, you do want to start bringing the energy down. So depending upon how much time you have, you may go from an upward facing dog to a child's pose. And then you may simply lay down and do a laying down twist before Shavasana. It can be that simple. Start with cat dog. Move it forward and back. Stand up. Lift your arms. Forward fold back down. Practice your peacock. Shift back to child's pose. Shift forward to up dog. Back to child's pose. Final spinal twist. Shavasana. That's just one way of putting some of these postures together. It may or may not be infinite, but there are nearly infinite ways that these can go together. Here's the thing. What I wanted you to do today is to create a plan for a practice. This is not what you have to do every day for the next 2 weeks. Planning is essential. Plans are dispensable. When you have followed this procedure, what are your authentic desires? What are the techniques that will bridge where you are now and that desired state? Put them into a practice that follows an arc, proceeds by counterpose, moves with the breath, held in the field of your attention. You can build a 5 minute or a 5-hour practice. You can start to attend classes with the idea that you're going to look for things that you want to weave in to your home yoga practice. Your home yoga practice is going to be different every day, even if you do the exact same postures. It'll feel different, and it won't always be getting better and better. Just like one day you do tree and it feels rock solid, and the next day feels like your leaves are falling off. The arc of practice is what's important. Returning, showing up for yourself. Now, we put a lot into particularly this last part. If you would like the home yoga practice workbook, drop a comment in and I will contact you and let you know how you can purchase a home yoga practice workbook. You can also go back through this video and other videos that will be coming out over the next 2 weeks. The content will be here for you. I will be coming on lives for energetic yoga practices, yin yoga practices, restorative yoga practices, breath practices, and meditation practices, sometimes mixed together, and occasionally to give you another demonstration of how to plan your own yoga practice. It is simple. It may not be easy. It is something that you can do for yourself that will have profound effects in your life. I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you for your practice. It really does ripple out and affect the entire world.